The arrest in the Tupac Shakur murder 27 years later really shocked everyone.
It looks like Tupac's cold case is finally seeing the light of day after almost 3 decades. The media is running wild with the recent arrest of Keefe D as the prime suspect.
You are called to testify in this case?
I wouldn't be.
But in a surprising turn of events, the #1 eyewitness, Suge Knight, has refused to testify against D. This explosive development has added a layer of complexity to the case.
You are not saying whether Keefe was involved in any way in the shooting.
At the end of the day, free Keefee D.
You might not believe it, but Suge has also denied Keefe's involvement in the case. Let's delve into the theories around the case that prevails in the industry. In a recent interview with TMZ, the former CEO of Death Row Records blatantly refused to testify against Keefe in case he was called in. Suge's statement has shocked the industry to its core. Now, we all know that Knight's testimony will be imperative in the case as he was the sole eyewitness to the deed. He said,
"You are called to testify in this case?"
I wouldn't be.
According to Knight, he has no intention of testifying on behalf of D, as he sees no personal benefit in doing so.
Why not?
Well, number one, because I'm not going to get on the stand and testify on somebody for what?
On top of that, Suge is still adamant on his belief that Keefe has nothing to do with the shooting that claimed Pac's life. He alluded that the prosecutors are barking at the wrong tree, as Orlando Anderson was not the shooter.
I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't the shooter.
Well, Knight's obscure statement has given rise to a whirlwind of theories that most people believe to be true. You see, Keefe D was arrested in Las Vegas when the grand jury indicted him. The reports claim that Keefe had the inside intel regarding the plan to take Tupac down before it was executed.
Okay. We'll get you some water, my man.
Keefe has been provocatively vocal for years, passionately touting his supposed connection to Tupac's murder. He's brazenly spilled his secrets in interviews and boldly penned a book on the matter, igniting a firestorm of intrigue. The law enforcement claim that his candid revelations have injected new life into their shadowy investigation. Associated Press reported that the police raided D's house and retrieved valuable substances. Police reported collecting multiple computers, a cell phone and hard drive, a Vibe magazine that featured Shakur, several .40 caliber bullets, 2 tubs containing photographs, and a copy of Davis's memoir. As for Suge, currently serving a formidable 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter, he remains enigmatic about Keefe's involvement in the shooting. Yet one thing he's absolutely certain about, he vehemently insists he'd never wish the cold, unforgiving life of prison upon anyone. But contrary to Suge's statement, D himself has previously admitted to his role in the incident. In 2008, during an interview with investigators, Keefe candidly revealed that his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane, was the one who fired the shots at Tupac from the car they were in. If they would have driven by my side, I would have popped them. And I ain't never told anybody that story, man. In his account of the incident, Keefe revealed that Diddy Combs ordered the hit, allegedly telling him, "Man, I want to get rid of them dudes," referring to Tupac and Suge Knight. D explained that Diddy's issue with Knight stemmed from Knight's infamous diss to the Bad Boy executives at the '95 Source Awards. First, Diddy only allegedly warned Knight, but he later targeted Tupac as well after Hit 'Em Up, a diss on the Notorious B.I.G. and Bad Boy.
Bad boy murdered on wax and with me and get your caps peeled.
They allegedly settled the terms of the hit at the Greenblatt's Deli, where Keefe D asked for $1 million to K both Tupac and Knight. Keefe D alleged he told Diddy, "We'll wipe their out quick, man. It's nothing."
Yeah, we want $1 million.
You said you walked downstairs. Did he say, "Come meet me downstairs"?
Yeah, he said, "Come on downstairs and talk to you."
Oh.
In his 2019 memoir, Compton Street Legend, D provided more details to claims he had previously told police. He wrote of an alleged meeting with Diddy at Greenblatt's where he requested the hit on Tupac and Knight. Keefe D wrote, "Like a lion on the Serengeti, I'm able to smell and see fear. Puffy was full of fear." Later in the memoir, Keefe claimed this made the hit on Tupac more urgent. When conversations would come up about $1 million bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, that was my business, he wrote. But after Tupac Tupac, Suge, and them death row guys jumped on my nephew Baby lane, that became ominously personal. These comments from Keefe are essentially direct confessions, and the global public is now widely criticizing D for his apparent indiscretion and recklessness in making such statements. Breaking news: Keefee D, a Crip gang leader who is so stupid he confessed in his memoir about hunting down / executing the rapper Tupac in '96, is arrested. So gang leaders now write memoirs. Well, there it is. All of our problems with African American violence is now fixed. One of the most prevalent conspiracies out there is that Suge is not going to snitch as he is still in jail serving his sentence. You see, Suge still has 12 years to serve, so he has to abide by the street rules. A conspiracy theorist commented, "Suge interview with TMZ. He won't snitch, but because he got 15 more years, it's prob the best to stay out of it. Now prob would have went differently if he wasn't in jail." Another added, "It was a wrap years ago. LAPD swept the S under the rug when Keefe D made a deal for immunity. Now 20+ years later, you want Suge to snitch, LMAO? He knows what they been knew. It ain't on him to say. Plus, he a blood in prison, let's be real here, LOL. Well, there's also the fact that the prisons have a hierarchy of their own and the snitches are at the very bottom of the food chain. In an article published by corrections1.com, an inmate revealed that snitches are eliminated one way or the other in prison. Snitches had a rough time in prison. I began my prison sentence at the maximum security level 4 prison called Old Folsom. In those days, when a prisoner was found or said to have given the officers information or testified against someone, it wouldn't take long before someone would stab the individual on the yard, in their cell or on the tier. Some were slashed across the face to be marked for life as a snitch. Another inmate revealed the dirty deets on the prison culture, saying,
"We're all in there for crime. We all live by the code of the underworld. And when I say all, I'm talking about the guards also."
This scenario was also highlighted by Mob James in an interview with Vlad TV. He explained that Suge couldn't put himself in a messy situation by opening his mouth.
"I don't think Suge would have put himself in that type of situation knowing that he's going to jail."
Now, we all know that Suge has been very vocal about his arrest and sentencing in the hit-and-run case that took place on the set of Straight Outta Compton, the acclaimed movie produced by Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. In a recent interview with All Hip Hop, Knight explained that he had accidentally accumulated 3 strikes on his criminal record after entering a no-contest plea for his crime in 2018. On top of that, he accused a judge of denying him the opportunity to represent himself after he had dismissed his legal counsel. Knight asserted that these alleged errors were grounds for his early release. He said, quote, "Considering the irrevocable mistake, the only reasonable course of action is to either strike a deal for my release or acknowledge that I was correct and allow me to retract my plea and start anew. However, initiating a fresh legal process could be exceedingly challenging given the complexities that have unfolded in my case." Suge also explained that the DA recommended 2 lawyers, but both of them were fired on the first day. Suge alluded that his case was being manipulated because he was forced to keep those 2 fired lawyers.
"You gotta give me time to hire new attorneys because the attorneys right here, right now, they have been fired, relieved from all their duties." He said, "No, you gotta keep them." I said, "No, this is my second day in court."
On top of that, Suge revealed that he was also denied his basic right to represent himself.
Now, you can look up the law. Any person that wanna go per, they just can't say, "No, you got that right."
Right.
What they're supposed to do is actually, do you know how to read and write? Have you been to high school? Are you crazy?
He explained that with his educational background, he was more than capable of representing himself, but the jury refused to give him authority to exercise his right without any definite reason.
I got a college degree, and I ran a business, so I should have the right to go. He said, "No, you can't go per person."
On his exposing spree, Suge also claimed that the jury did not want him to represent himself and actively denied him privacy by recording his lawyer's visits, which is against the law. They let these attorneys agree to move me from Compton to CCV in front of a judge, Cohen, one of the worst judges in CCV, because he had my bail hearing, my prelim, and my trial, which is illegal. They're not even my attorneys, so now they've been playing with me back and forth. Now it went from that to the point where the judge says anybody had a weapon, a firearm, I wouldn't bind you over for trial. They wouldn't let me have attorneys. They wouldn't let me go to trial. In fact, every time I had an attorney visit, they recorded every attorney visit I had, and that's against the law to record my legal visits. Given his lengthy account in mind, it is not difficult to predict that now that Suge actually has power over the system, he might be willing to use his cards to get an early release from prison. Some fans are also thinking along the same lines. Suge trying to finesse an early release deal in exchange for cooperation. Another added, yeah, he was involved but good luck winning the case. Most likely he'll walk either because of his previous deal or because he's the only living person, besides Suge, who won't snitch, who knows what happened. He can literally just say he made up the stories for entertainment. Not to mention that Suge actually confessed to TMZ that he was pretty shocked when Keefe was arrested. He alluded that D should not be behind bars. Many took his statement as a direct indication that he knew who the shooter was and would open his mouth if he got something out of it, especially a reduced sentence. Not only that, Reggie Wright Jr., co-founder of the Death Row Records, also commented on the deal that was offered to Suge when the case was still hot. He explained that Suge refused.
He said, "I'm not no rat. I'm not going to get down for y'all. No, y'all just go ahead and proceed with y'all violation."
The ominous cloud surrounding the events of Tupac's shooting deepens as a chilling pattern comes to light. You might have noticed that every other individual involved in the incident during the fateful shooting has met a tragic demise. Not only have the car's occupants perished, but also a disconcerting number of witnesses have mysteriously passed away over the years. Rumors have it that their untimely demise may be linked to Suge Knight's enigmatic entourage. For those who don't know, Suge and Pac were pulled over by the police while they were driving along the Los Angeles Strip after they left the MGM Grand that day. But it is mind-boggling to this day that the officers did not give them a ticket for not displaying their car plates. It seemed like it was a scheme to trap Tupac. Another shady incident occurred when Tupac's car was approached by a group of girls out of nowhere. The rumors on the streets alleged that these incidents were planned by Suge himself to keep Tupac occupied. Malcolm Greenidge, one of Shakur's lifelong friends, was in the car behind them on the way back to Club 662. Some women drove up on the passenger side. Mr. Shakur began talking to the women. We couldn't really hear what he was saying. We assumed he was probably inviting them to the club. Tupac was an influential figure who had spent his entire life on the streets, so Tupac had to be hypervigilant. So if you think about it like this, it is possible that Suge actually had made an under-table deal to save himself at the expense of Tupac. This assumption can be further backed up by the fact that as soon as the girls removed themselves from the scene, a white car pulled up and opened fire on Pac. An acquaintance of Tupac shared with Fox News that the streets knew the answers to all the questions. It was devastating. We lost an icon and we lost a friend. If he did it, the family will finally get justice. The streets had the answers. The streets knew all along who did what and how it happened. Some conspiracy theorists claim that Suge was actually the person who wanted to eliminate Pac. They believe that to reach their goal, he made a deal with Diddy under the table. Although it may look far-fetched at first, we cannot deny the fact that everyone except Suge died suspiciously after the incident.
I'm saying, if they asked me if I know who killed Tupac, I'm the said, hey, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
I don't get down like that.
Suge himself has also admitted that every person, even the cremator of Tupac's body, has disappeared in thin air.
If you try to find a person who cremated Tupac, after he supposed cremated Tupac, he retired and vanished into the sunset.
It is also important to know that Knight was the only one in the car with Pac, and according to Knight, he and Tupac had good laughter after both of them were shot. He said,
I'm driving, telling him I'm going to get to the hospital, kick back. Pac looked at me and said, you know what? You need the doctor more than me. You the one shot in your head. And we laughed the whole time.
Aside from that, Keisha Cole has also unveiled a surprising revelation about the late Tupac's intentions just prior to his tragic death in 1996. During a recent episode of Fat Joe's Instagram Live series, Cole disclosed that her introduction to Death Row Records came courtesy of MC Hammer. It was within the confines of Death Row that she crossed paths with Tupac and Suge Knight, the label's co-founder. Interestingly, during the same weekend as Mike Tyson's notorious Vegas fight, which coincided with Tupac's fatal shooting, his fiancée, Kadeta Jones, the renowned singer, and her brother, the Outlaws rapper Nutso, were also in town. On that fateful day, Tupac confided in Cole, sharing his plans to depart from Death Row Records and embark on a new journey with Quincy Jones' label. In a surprising twist, he expressed his desire for Cole to join him in this musical venture. I actually did know Tupac, she said. said, he wanted to sign me to Quincy when he was with Kadeda, Quincy's daughter, and he was gonna leave death row and go to sign with Quincy. He wanted me to go over there because he said that death row was not the place for kids. He died when I was 16. Right when my birthday was coming around, I just remember getting earrings in the mail from Death Row Records, but Suge, of course, was already in jail. With 2Pac's excessive talent and influence, it would indeed be a loss for Suge's label to lose him. The rumors claim that it is not far from the realm of imagination for Suge to switch teams in the face of such calamity. Another thing that made people point fingers at Suge is the unexpected death of Orlando Anderson. You see, Keefe D has repeatedly claimed on different platforms that his nephew was the one who pulled the trigger, but in a surprising turn of events, Anderson lost his life in a very separate incident just some time after Tupac. According to Detective Brennan, Anderson's untimely demise stemmed from a dispute over drug money with a rival gang and was unrelated to the Shakur case. Apart from that, the former MC, Napoleon, spoke to The Art of Dialogue and shared his opinion that Dwayne Keith Davis was only behind bars because he continued to speak about Pac's murder. Napoleon asserted that he didn't have sympathy for the man, but claimed that his former boss wouldn't have gotten the cops involved. Napoleon declared, if Pac survived the shooting, Pac himself wouldn't want Keefe D to go to jail. A lot of people might not understand, but I know Pac. Pac ain't gonna get law involved because Pac would understand he did something in the streets and it would come back with street stuff. As he continued, the Breathin' artist provided an example of Shakur keeping the authorities out of street politics. He said, Pac knew what happened. He just fought somebody, and an hour and 2 hours later, it's a drive-by shooting. Pac, I'm sure, before he understood what that retaliation was about, and Pac still said, I'm not talking. Napoleon pointed out that Keefe was clout chasing when he was going around recklessly and doing interviews.
I guess he took the fame and the likes more precious than his freedom. You know, this social media, you know, as a youngster say, clout chasing.
Fans are right beside Napoleon on this one. One of them commented, he said and made a lot of great points. Fame is K-people now. They just will do anything to be in front of a camera. This dude should have sat down somewhere a minute ago, but people were following him in big. That's factual. We shouldn't step over that because they knew everything that happened with both of them. So the real question is why now? Despite how things worked out, Tupac's family is hoping they will finally get some closure. In a statement, Sekiwa Set Shakur, the rapper's sister, described the arrest as a victory. Quote, this is no doubt a pivotal moment. The silence of the past 27 years surrounding this case has spoken loudly in our community, she said. It's important to me that the world, the country, and the justice system and our people acknowledge the gravity of the passing of this man, my brother, my mother's son, my father's son. Greg Kading, a retired Los Angeles police detective who spent years investigating the Shakur case and wrote a book about it, said he's not surprised by Davis's arrest. Kading said he put himself squarely in the middle of the conspiracy. Davis himself gave Las Vegas police the ammunition and leverage to move forward. All the other direct conspirators or participants are all dead. Keefe D is the last man standing among the individuals that conspired to K Tupac. In the midst of Keefe's arrest, people hold a variety of opinions. While some believe that Suge won't open his mouth, others claim that he will. A few also suggest that Suge is behind the eradication of people related to the incident. Only time will unveil the truth, whatever it may be.